करुणामयी वरदायनी कर कमल वीणाधारिणी माँ सरस्वती माँ सरस्वती माँ सरस्वती माँ सरस्वती करुणामयी वरदायनी कर कमल वीणाधारिणी माँ सरस्वती माँ सरस्वती माँ सरस्वती।
His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, an apostle of peace in the world, always preaches forgiveness, tolerance, and compassion. The Dalai Lama is the spiritual and temporal head of the Tibetan nation. He is the God incarnate, incarnation of Avalokiteswara, the Buddhi Sattva of compassion. Buddhi Sattvas are enlightened beings who have postponed their own nirvana and chosen to take rebirth in order to serve humanity. Among the hundreds of pseudonyms for His Holiness, one is Kundun, which means the presence of Lord Buddha on earth. Because of His Holiness' popular association, he has captured the hearts of millions on earth. Today, we are delighted and thrilled for this opportunity to meet with the one who was awarded Nobel Peace Prize and also became the first Nobel laureate to be recognized for his concern for global environmental problems. We are blessed by him sitting next to us. We all honor him as a universal symbol of peace and harmony, a shepherd for the devoted and the keeper of the flame for his people. With this, on behalf of entire IIMT group of colleges, take the privilege of welcoming His Holiness, the Dalai Lama.
His Holiness, 50 years ago, we embraced you in Bharat, that is India, not as a guest, but as religious guru. His Holiness, you are a religious spirit. It is the history of gods that they have either taken birth or have migrated in Bharat. We Hindustanis feel proud that 95% of these gods of this universe have made Bharat as their Karam Bhumi and blessed us. His Holiness, your honor has devoted your whole life in uplifting the poor and educating the people of this world. Whole world worships and recognizes you as a living God residing in Bharat. It is your Karam Bhumi. So if I call His Holiness as son of this soil, I will not be wrong. World cannot be changed overnight. Change will come gradually through increased awareness, and awareness will come with education. His Holiness, you are educating the whole world, and today, His Holiness is in IIMT to educate the academic masses. His Holiness, Tibet is the crown of Bharat. Tibet is the crown of Bharat, and peace in our country will be possible only when our brain, that is Tibet, remains undisturbed. Today, I welcome His Holiness, the living God of this universe, in IIMT, and feel very proud to have him amongst us. We all pray that His Holiness achieve the mission of friendship, brotherhood, and happiness in this universe.
I would request Honorable Mr. Kulbhushan Bakshi to kindly help to inaugurate a book of Cancer Hospital by His Holiness and the inauguration of a website www.shriramchcss.com. The book's name is Cancer is Curable. Cancer doesn't mean death.
Respected elder brothers, oh no, sister, but yeah, then younger brothers and sisters, I'm extremely happy having this opportunity, particularly sharing with some of my own experience and my own sort of views or concept, sharing with young people. I'm extremely happy because I always see mentioning to young people, we are now 21st century. And my longtime friend Bakshiji and myself, and perhaps and you also, you see, our generation belongs to 20th century. But you, these young people, you truly belongs to 21st century. So 20th century already gone, only in memory, whether good or bad. 21st century, just the beginning. So, let's say it is quite nature. Time always moving. No force can stop that time moving. But then, past is past. Now future still open. Maybe very good one or bad one. Not very sure. But at the same time, still open. So future depend on present. So you, the generation who belongs to the 21st century, now future depend on your shoulder. If you carry sense of responsibility with vision, with willpower, then future will be good one. If you not carrying sense of responsibility and not much interest about look things more wider perspective, through more wider perspective, and analyze seriously. I think we human beings, maybe blessing of Saraswati, we have this sharp intelligence. The sharp intelligence not come through prayer to Saraswati. The sharp intelligence must come through your own training, your own, Buddhists call analytical meditation. Everything, you see, must sort of investigate what's the reality. Because there is always sort of gap, appearances and reality. So if we carry decision on the basis of appearances, often that decision becomes unrealistic. So we must sort of investigate what's the reality. That also objectively, it's impossible
to carry investigation with too much emotion here. So mind must be calm. Then investigate objectively. So you young people now must sort of acquire the reality. Or find out the reality. And now, for example, when we look back 20th century, in spite of many great achievements in the field of science and technology, but that century becomes century of violence, century of bloodshed. Some historians say in 20th century, the number of people who killed through violence are around 200 millions. And also including use nuclear weapon. So that century, really later part of century, because of this immense destructive power, the people constantly remain fear. I had opportunity to visit then German divided East and West. So few occasions I visit West Germany, a very close border with East Germany. So sometimes I myself, as a visitor, but during night when I sleep, I also, you see, have this some sort of feeling. Oh, if something happened, then the weapon, including because of the tactical sort of nuclear weapon from Warsaw Pact, ready to shoot. So you see, people remain that kind of constant fear, constant threat. So then eventually, you see, these things also, of course, you see, changed. But basically, you see, that 20th century really become century of violence. I often see telling people, if that immense violence really create new shape of world, happier one, peaceful one, then that unthinkable violence may have some justification, but that's not the case. Look, beginning of this 21st century, some unhealthy sort of violence, unhealthy things, violence. Look, the Middle East area, even now today in Syria, like these things. I think these are symptoms of past mistake and negligence. With too much sort of emphasis, use force. So, now, from this experience, now you must make effort. This 21st century should be century of peace. How can develop, how can achieve peaceful world? Through prayer. I am Buddhist, pray to Buddha, peace. Won't come. All other sort of believer pray one's own God. I think peace won't come. One time in Hiroshima, one Nobel laureate sort of meeting for peace. So some sort of speakers mentioned blessed because of that. I mean, through the blessing, world achieve peace. Then at last, my turn speak. If peace come from God's blessing, then that kind of second, the 20th century should not be century of violence. God's blessing always there. That's reality. So therefore, logically, who created violence? Not God. If violence created by God, then ask God, please bring peace. But violence created by human being, we ourselves. So that logically, peace also is must be created by human themselves, no one else. Now, peaceful century does not mean no longer any sort of source of conflict or any sort of disagreement, any problem. No. I think sometimes I jokingly is telling, if we really want peaceful world without any conflict, then we human beings must go. Otherwise, you see, we human beings, this sort of smart brain, you see, too much desire, too much sort of visions, then, you see, we committed violence. So, some problems, so long we human beings remain, and also population increasing. The nature resource also now showing some limitations. People's living standard also must improve. This poverty must sort of eliminate. So lot of sort of factor which may create problem. So therefore, the problem bound to happen. Now, how to develop, how to create peaceful century. Whenever we face problem, we must, you see, face this problem through dialogue. We must solve these problems through dialogue. Not one-side victory, one-side defeat, not that way. But others also part of we. Entire 7 billion human beings are same human being. And now today's reality, not only nation to nation, but also continent to continent, heavily interdependent. And the environment, the global warming. No, in these fields, no importance of nationality, national boundaries and religious faith. And modern economy, global economy, beyond the national boundaries, beyond religious faith. Now we must think entire humanity. So therefore, if we really consider oneself as one of the human being, logically, humanity happy, we individual definitely get maximum sort of benefit. If humanity face problem, we individual cannot escape. And then also the individual sort of or the happiness is concerned. Now this even scientists, some scientists, you see now, realize more compassionate heart. That means sense of concern of others' well-being. The person, their brain, blood circulations, blood pressure, stress, all reduce. Too much anxiety, too much stress, often you see develop frustration, anger, hatred, fear. So some scientists, through their experiment, they say constant fear, constant anger, hatred is actually eating our immune system. So, for our own interest, our individual interest, develop the attitude taking care others' well-being. You get inner strength, self-confidence. That brings inner peace. Through that way, reduce fear, anxiety. Other hand, too much concern about self, self-centered attitude. Then, worry, anger, fear, all these easily come. These are not talking about religious matter. These are now fact. Our emotion world, world of emotion. It is that kind of a system there. So therefore, the more compassionate feeling is best way to achieve individual peace of mind. And then, no question, more compassionate mind, the family also more peaceful. And through that way, whole community become more peaceful. And through that way, genuine world peace. And whenever we face some problems, through dialogue, with respect of others' interest, respect others' view, and try to mutually come to solution. That's dialogue. So once we have genuine sense of concern of others' well-being, then these spirit of dialogue automatically come. So I think for better world, peaceful world, ultimately not depend on weapon, depend on our own mind. Not wisdom, but warm-heartedness. So that I want to share with you. Then, as you mentioned, Bharat. I always describe, since Buddhism reached Tibet, the whole Tibetan sort of way of life and civilization, a new kind of civilization is developed. So we, Tibetan, I usually consider we Tibetan are chela of ancient Indian gurus. So basically, you are guru. I'm here, the speaker is actually chela. All our knowledge, you taught. And particularly, you see, the Tibetan, Buddhist philosophy. Of course, for these Buddhist philosophy and also Buddhist science of mind, these, you see, in order to transformation of our mind, Buddhists use this knowledge for that. But we can separate two things. Buddhist religion, Buddhist science, Buddhist sort of philosophy. So philosophy, science, mainly science of mind or emotion. Now, many Western scientists really showing interest to get more information about emotion and variety of emotion and how to tackle this emotion, not as a religious practice, but simply for healthy mind, for healthy body, healthy society. So these can be, education academic subject. So that I want to share with you. You see, when you hear Buddhism, it's just a religion. No. You know, our tradition mainly come from Nalanda. Because, you see, Shandar, the person who introduced in the 8th century in Tibet Buddhism, more profound way, that person, Shantarakshita, one of the top scholars of Nalanda institution. The Tibetan emperor invited him. So since he, great philosopher, of course, bhikshu, and great philosopher, and great sort of logician. So because person who introduced Buddhism in Tibet, he himself, philosopher and logician, so last 1,000 years, we carry that kind of tradition. Not just sort of ceremony or some ritual, no. Rigorous study about human mind, about human emotion. Then when we analyze things, use logics. Buddha himself, you see, stated, "Oh, my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather out of investigation and analyze or experiment." So therefore, these Nalanda tradition, you see, they very much sort of that kind of trend. Always analyze, analyze. So I hope these young student, individually, as far as religious faith is concerned, there could be Christian, there could be follower of Jainism or Sankhya philosophy or some other sort of ancient Indian sort of non-Buddhist tradition, and also maybe some Buddhist, and also there could be non-believer. Okay, that's a personal business. But for sort of, what should they, increase power of investigation, power of analyzation, logics are very, very important. Then also, they analyze about our mental problem. Actually now today, whole world facing some kind of moral crisis. Moral crisis cannot solve by money, nor by existing modern education. Because existing modern education is very much oriented about material value. So, when we face the moral crisis, we have to know something about map of our mind, map of emotion. Through that way, we can train our mind. So that I want to. All this, you taught us. Now time come, we sincerely, you see, introduce you. Whether you take Buddha or not, that's up to you. So therefore, this institution, I think, not as a religion, not as a Buddhist religion, simply as an academic subject, as a science of mind, I think really worthwhile, pay some attention. That I want to tell you. So through that way, I think we better equipped today's world problem, particularly the crisis of moral principle. Then India, this country, 1,000 years, you have, I think, a wonderful sort of idea, ahimsa. With that, religious harmony. That's really a wonderful tradition of India. I think rest of the world should look this religious harmony, ahimsa, is a model, living example. So, and then ahimsa, religious harmony, both related with respect others' life, respect others' view. So this related with, again, 1,000-year-old India's tradition, secularism. Respect all religion. Some my friend in the West, some Christian, some Muslim, you see, they little bit sort of reserved the concept of secularism. But according to Indian understanding about secularism, does not mean disrespect religion, but rather respect all religions, and also non-believer. So this is, I think, very, very modern thinking. So your 1,000-year-old tradition, not only one ancient tradition, but also very relevant to today's world. So please recognize this is your own tradition. So these young people, just to see Western musics, Western what's this, like that. Entertainment. Of course, part of your life, your holiday or something, okay. But you should not forget 1,000-year-old, your own deep knowledge about mind and how to tackle mind. These are very, very important. So you younger people must make effort, combination, modernization, and 1,000-year-old, your own sort of traditional value must come together. That does not mean some of the bad habits, like caste system, or the dowry, or all these, you should not think these also part of our tradition must keep, must preserve. Totally wrong. When you are a child, certain sort of hat or certain sort of cloth. Yes, it is your sort of cloth. But it is wrong to say, even you grown up, I must wear that. Wrong. I come from land of snow. See, the furs, and very thick sort of clothes. This is part of our tradition. Even in hot country, I must also wear. Silly, foolish. So some of your sort of traditions, really outdated. You must speak out. The caste system, these things must speak out. And also religious sort of institution. Sometimes I feel, you see, they carry rituals and certain sort of pujas, not making relevance day-to-day life. That I think very, very important. So I always telling people, even you see when I give teaching, I never follow formality. I never follow more sort of ceremonial way. I just is telling the meaning, the essence. I think we must be practical, realistic. Hypocritic way, no use. Sometimes I, frankly speaking, or expressing, sometimes religion also taught us how to act hypocrisy, saying something nice things, but real daily life, not much concern. That's why among the religious people, corrupted people there. How can, if you sincerely carry your belief seriously, then such sort of corruption will not take place. Just clearly. So this India also now too much sort of corruptions. I think this is almost, I think, new disease of the humanity. China, India, Latin America, and the Arab world. I think Europe is a little bit better. When I give talk in Latin America, when I ask audience, the rich and poor gap, how big? Small or big? The audience always show like this, big. Then corruption, small or big, like that. Some of the European countries, when I put this same question, and they say, little. I think this country, Bharat, great sort of spiritual led. I think if I ask you, see the corruption, small or big, I think most probably, I think your sign will be big. So I think these should not neglect these things. Now we must fight. We must tell. We must express openly, criticize. I think very, very important. Then media people also, you see, very important role. I usually say telling media people should have long nose as long as elephant nose. Then smell. What is going on? In front, everybody try to nice. What really going on? Behind, we must investigate and then make public. Provided you must be honest, truthful, not biased. You must educate people. What is really going on? Whether religious leader or politician, or one politician, I'm quite sure. I think I'm quite sure. And also academicians. I think at various levels. I think in order to clean up, simply law, not sufficient. People involved, law itself, sometimes corrupted, difficult. So therefore, I think make sort of, make known to public, I think important. So, I express these things quite honestly, frankly, because I consider myself as a son of India. Because, you know, my brain, every cell of my brain filled by Nalanda thought. I study, learned, or memorize those texts which wrote by Nalanda master, like Nagarjuna, Arya Sangha, and Shantadeva, and Dharmakirti, Dignath, Chandrakirti. Since my childhood, I learned these things. So my brain really filled with Nalanda thought. Then this physical. Some time back, I met some Chinese media. So one reporter asked me, why you mentioned you yourself as the son of India? Then he thought maybe political reason. Then I thought, oh, my brain, every part of my brain filled by Nalanda thought. Then this physical, about 3 years ago I met. So then I mentioned, last 50 years, this body also survived by Indian dals, Indian rice. So therefore, I consider myself as a son of India. So as a son of India, I think this Tibetan saying,
Yes. So the Tibetan saying goes like this, if you are a close friend with somebody, you should actually criticize their faults.
Oh, made clear. So I'm, as a son of India, out of my respect, out of my genuine concern, I express these things openly, frankly. That's all. Thank you. Now some questions. Thank you.
Namaskar, Dalai Lama ji. सबसे पहले I want to say you pranam in Indian style. From the childhood to today, I am always eager about you. When I am in childhood, तो मैं सोचता था कि आपका नाम बड़ा यूनिक सा है, दलाई लामा. बहुत अजीब लगता था मुझे नाम, बहुत प्यारा सा लगता था ये नाम. तो मैं बड़ा ईगर रहता था कि मैं इस वर्ड के बारे में जानूं, ये दलाई लामा वर्ड क्या है, हमें क्या सीख देता है. तो सबसे पहले फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वांट टू आस्क यू व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ योर नेम दलाई लामा.
Oh, actually, almost like a title, Dalai, come from Mongolian chief, Mongolian sort of emperor, Emperor Sorbe. I think since third Dalai Lama, he visited Mongolia. Then he got, you see, this name, Dalai. Dalai means great ocean. So I think the part of the name of Dalai Lama since second Dalai since second Dalai Lama, the part of his name, ocean there. So perhaps I think originally simply the great Lama name of ocean, which name of ocean, like that. Then sometimes you see people, you see, take more poetic way, right? Poetic way. Great ocean means, you see, ocean of wisdom. Now, so now here also, you see, you both mentioned the reincarnation of God, God King. It's nonsense. but you see, some people say, I am God King or reincarnation of Buddha. But some people say, I am demon, living demon. So both are nonsense.
वंदामी भंते जय भीम नमो बुद्धाय। भंते जी, मैं जानना चाहती हूँ, जब एक लड़की अपने घर से बाहर निकले तो वो अपने आप को सुरक्षित कैसे महसूस करे? क्या वो ऐसा करे कि जब घर से बाहर आए तो उसे डर ना लगे? ऐसा।
Recently, I was in Patna. The Bihar Chief Minister, he also, you see, mentioned a student, girl student, you see, should sort of train, let's say, martial art. Karate. She mentioned. I thought that's, I think, good. When you see someone about to approach to you something negative motivation, then use karate.
Next question, please.
Sir, a very good morning to you and a warm welcome in our college. Sir, I would like to ask you that how much role does play a religion in getting freedom for a country?
Oh. Religion in getting the freedom. That, I think, we cannot generalize. I think like Poland, Poland's freedom fight, a Catholic faith, I think really, Kasoda, brings some kind of sort of their strength. So you see this case to case. Then some country, I think generally, I think religious faith may not be, you see, the very sort of close link. I feel like that. As I mentioned earlier, religion is individual business. And then sometimes you see religion involved in politics and sometimes dangerous. So religion politicized. Then look, the problem, I think not only in the past, but also today, you see some sort of, or say the violence or divisions. Main reason may be political, but use religious name. Therefore, it becomes much more serious. So I think religion should, I prefer, should be separate, should not involve in the political sort of field.
Next question.
Next question.
Sir, you have often quoted India, to be an example of living religious harmony. And like you yourself are a fascinating man who is compassionate and concerned. I would like to ask, when you highlight the importance of education, then how these four things like honesty, truthfulness, compassion and concern be blended all together so that, education could be carved out properly in the real sense.
Last few years, actually it's a few decades, as a result of discussion with scientists, brain specialist or medical scientist, or a psychologist, it becomes quite sort of convincing. Warm-heartedness, compassionate attitude is something very, very important, as I mentioned earlier, for individual level, family level, community level, or finally global level. So now, if some my friend, you see, believe moral ethics must be based on religious faith, then it becomes limited. As I mentioned earlier, even here, maybe some non-believers. And I think global level, some report, you see, mentioned out of 7 billion, about 1 billion non-believers. So, if we teach moral ethics based on religious faith, then it will never be universally acceptable or universal. Therefore, now as a result of discussion with many scientists and educationists and thinkers, now finally we agree. Now, through education, we must teach moral ethics. That not based on religious faith, but based on our common experience and common sense and scientific findings. So actually, now in America, some universities, I say the Wisconsin University and Stanford University, Emory University, Columbia, and some universities actually, you see, working in these fields and with sort of experiment. Now, last year, and recently in Delhi, some universities, mainly in Delhi University, now we already start some sort of work making curriculum about moral ethics based on secular way. So from kindergarten up to university level, the curriculums that, as I mentioned briefly, firstly explain about mind, about emotion, something like map of mind. Then identified what kind of emotion are destructive, what kind of emotion are sort of useful and constructive, then how to tackle these things. So we're already working. So perhaps I think the next 1 year may be ready as a draft, concrete draft. So we'll see. So like that, I think, so I think in education field, from kindergarten up to university level, among their subject, some moral ethics, not based on religious belief, but simply our common sense and common experience and sort of scientific sort of finding. Yes.
Sir, I wanted to ask you, as you mentioned in your speech earlier, that Tibet and you per se have gained a lot of knowledge in terms of spirituality from India. But today, if we see India, where India stands in terms of following ahimsa, following non-violence, and where Tibet stands. All the lamas in Tibet, they actually practice the path of non-violence, where in India we see a lot of violent acts taking place. And also the youth in this 21st century, we don't believe as much in religion as our older generations used to. How can we inculcate that path of non-violence and that spirituality in us?
Non-violence should not consider something spiritual or spirituality. Non-violence is realistic method. How can solve problem through violence? Look, even these big nations, their sort of aim is good, their motivation is good, but as soon as use force, then unexpected sort of consequences always happen. So therefore, now if you use common sense, through violence, use force, you never solve problem. So non-violence, ahimsa, is the realistic approach.